Chinese Kung Fu is pretty famous. It goes back around 2,000 years. The Northern Shaolin 7-star praying mantis system that I study goes back 400 years. Now there's a lot of rich history. Like the eagle claw goes back, say, 2,000 years. So a lot of the newer systems that are out now, just like the mantis, we have taken movements from the older systems. Wong Long, the founder of the 7-star praying mantis system, he put together a system. After several years of training with the Sihing, he noticed that he was unable to beat his older Kung Fu brother, and he couldn't figure out why. One day his Sihing was going on a sabbatical, basically traveling around, doing good deeds and whatnot. He's going to be gone for a couple of years. His Sihing said, train, practice. So his goal was to, when his Sihing came back, that he could beat his Sihing. So Wong Long is in the forest training, practicing, and also reading. So he stops to read. A lot of the Kung Fu that we have has been handed down through poetry and songs also. So he's sitting there reading and he hears some different noises in the bushes, and it turns out that it's a praying mantis fighting a cicada, a much larger bug. But he noticed that the praying mantis was able to overthrow and beat the larger insect because of his speed and accuracy. So he's very fascinated by this. So he started studying the mantis. He literally took the mantis, studied its movements and whatnot. So he started to develop his own system. He took techniques from 17 other styles that were famous at the time that he had studied, and throws, chin-na, locks, kicks, certain punches. Put that system together, and then with the praying mantis movements. So through the training, he was able to overthrow and beat his Sihing when he came back. And his Sihing was fascinated by this, so they got together, bettered the system, worked it out, and actually stayed in the temple for several generations before it was ever taken out. When they found someone to teach, it wasn't like they had a big school and a lot of people worked the way. They literally would look for someone who was worthy and then teach them. So maybe they didn't always have a lot of students. And a lot of Kung Fu has died with different masters because they were unable or didn't feel like a student was, or a person was ready for it or worthy for it. So that's why it's important that it's handed down. If it's not handed down, it's lost. Praying mantis system, although it's known as external, is very internal compared to a lot of the other systems. A lot of circular, soft motions in it. So you have these forms, but it's all governed by principles. O Lo Choi, which is hook, grab, strike, Kwa, Dil, Jun, to name a few. The principles are the guiding factors of the system. So although people can do different forms, without the principles, it's going to be empty. The breath, right? Breathing through the Dantian, breathing correctly, trying to keep that breathing to where you're doing it 24 hours a day naturally. And then, of course, the stance training is the first thing, horse stance training, which also teaches patience, which a lot of people don't realize. Now, forms are patterns of movements, techniques that are memorized. Now, the forms will start off basic, just feet, and then quickly move into blocking and punching at the same time, and then blocking, kicking, striking at the same time. So the movements that has in Kung Fu will deal with a lot of circular motions, so that's why you have to be soft. So being rigid and hard, which we train, strengthening the bones and whatnot, but you have to also be very, very soft and relaxed to be able to do the forms and to move fast. Because the praying mantis system is known to, when you demonstrate it, fast. Not all systems are like that, like Tai Chi, it's trained slow. Before you know it, you have a lot of information, more information than a lot of people can keep. How you train and the time that you use is very important. I've known people to train 15 years and not get as far as some people who train 4 or 5. When you see our system, you see these types of the handwork, right? This is called Dil Sao, the mantis claw. So we actually mimic the insect with the hands. And with the footwork, we mimic the monkey. So that's why most of the stances are very low training. starts off with maybe like a pattern of you're doing a deal style and jun with a partner. Simple, where you're not moving your feet. So you go from there to two-handed, like choi sum sao, olo choi, where you're actually doing some techniques, set patterns, maybe 3 or 5, starting off, and then you'll basically work it up as far as the speed and power, as long as you can stay relaxed. Once you start getting tight, you gotta start, slow it back down. And of course, they start off slow, and you want to focus where you're striking too, and how to use the technique. And then later, they speed up. So whether you know it, you think you know, when you start going fast, things change. So you have to be able to move with that person. It works distance, timing, and that's where the Chi Sao training comes in. So besides the two-person sets and the fighting drills, which are set, you have a lot of what's called the Chi Sao, or the sticky hands, which is going to develop the sensitivity in your body. We want to start off with building up the sensitivity in the forearms, usually the first 6 inches here. That's usually what's called the bridge. In the Hangul, they talk about the iron bridge, the kill sound, which touches, right? Same thing. So we work with here, and then you need to move with the other person. So once again, being soft, you gotta be able to follow that person's energy. If they could take their hand off, they could hit you. I see that's kind of like the glue that brings everything together, the fighting drills, the empty hand drills. See, the people who stay on top of their forms, train their forms, the movement. You're moving like that all the time. So when you go to defend yourself or work on the Chi Sao, it comes natural. You don't have to, because you don't have time to think a lot of times. So that's why you need to do the forms a lot, so you're naturally moving that way a lot.